Wu Zetian, China's only female emperor. The rise of a controversial dynasty. The history of imperial China spans thousands of years and hundreds of emperors, but among them all, only one was a woman. This is the story of Wu Zetian, concubine, empress, and ultimately emperor in her own right. In the 7th century, when women were expected to be subordinate and obedient, Wu Zetian defied all expectations. She seized power in a male-dominated world and ruled China for nearly half a century. Some historians paint her as a brutal tyrant, who eliminated anyone standing in her way. Others see her as a brilliant strategist and reformer who brought prosperity and innovation to China during its golden age. So who was the real Wu Zetian? Let's journey back to Tang Dynasty China to uncover the remarkable story of the woman who would become China's first and only female emperor. Wu Zetian was born in 624 CE to a wealthy timber merchant family. Unlike most girls of her time, she received an education typically reserved for boys. She studied literature, music, and politics, skills that would later serve her well in navigating the imperial court. At just 14 years old, Wu's beauty and intelligence caught the attention of Emperor Taizong, who brought her into his palace as a concubine. As a low-ranking concubine, she was given the title Talented Lady Wu. Though not the emperor's favorite, Wu spent her years in the palace observing court politics and learning the intricacies of power. When Emperor Taizong died in 649 CE, tradition dictated that his concubines, who hadn't borne children, should have their heads shaved and live out their days as Buddhist nuns. But Wu had formed a relationship with the emperor's son and successor, Li Ji, who would become Emperor Gaozong. In a bold move that broke with tradition, Wu returned to court as Gaozong's concubine. This was technically forbidden, as she had belonged to his father, but Gaozong was infatuated with Wu and welcomed her back. Within a few years, she'd given birth to sons and risen through the ranks of concubines. The traditional narrative claims that Wu eliminated her rivals through ruthless means. The most infamous story involves Wu allegedly killing her own newborn daughter and framing Empress Wang for the murder. While historians debate the truth of these accusations, what's clear is that Wu successfully maneuvered herself into the position of empress by 655 CE. As empress, Wu's influence grew substantially, especially as Emperor Gaozong suffered from poor health, possibly due to strokes. She began sitting behind a screen during imperial meetings, whispering advice to the emperor, and effectively co-ruling China. When Gaozong died in 683 CE, Wu's adult sons became emperors in succession, but they served as little more than figureheads while Wu held the real power. Finally, in 690 CE, at the age of 66, Wu took the unprecedented step of declaring herself emperor. Not empress, but emperor, establishing her own Zhou dynasty. Wu Zetian's reign was marked by significant achievements that have often been overshadowed by stories of her ruthlessness. Under her rule, the civil service examination system was reformed to reduce nepotism and corruption. Rather than appointing officials based solely on family connections, candidates were selected based on merit and knowledge of Confucian classics. Wu also expanded China's territories through military campaigns against the Tibetan Empire, the Khitan people, and the Kingdom of Goguryeo in Korea. These expansions helped secure China's borders and increased its influence in East Asia. Economically, Wu's reign saw agricultural innovations that increased food production. She lowered taxes for farmers during difficult times and built irrigation systems that improved crop yields. These policies led to prosperity that helped fund the magnificent architecture and art of the Tang Dynasty, often considered China's cultural golden age. Wu Zetian was also known for her religious tolerance. While she favored Buddhism and commissioned massive Buddha statues, including the famous Longmen grottos, she also supported Taoism and Confucianism. This religious diversity contributed to the cultural richness of the Tang Dynasty. Perhaps most remarkably for her time, Wu improved the status of women. She insisted that daughters be included in mourning rites for parents, a privilege previously reserved for sons. She elevated the status of her maternal family, breaking with patrilineal traditions, and appointed women to government positions. Wu's support for Buddhism also elevated the status of women, as Buddhist teachings offered a more egalitarian view of gender than Confucianism. She commissioned biographies of famous women and supported education for upper-class women. Of course, Wu's rise to power wasn't without controversy. She created a secret police force to uncover plots against her and dealt harshly with perceived opponents. Many members of the Li imperial family and other noble houses were exiled, imprisoned, or executed during her rule. However, it's worth noting that such ruthlessness was not uncommon among male emperors of the time, though Wu has been judged more harshly by history. In her later years, Wu's power began to wane. By her early 80s, she had become increasingly dependent on her lover Zhang Changzong and his brother Zhang Yizhi. Court officials, concerned about the brothers' growing influence, orchestrated a coup in 705 CE when Wu was 81 years old. The officials forced Wu to abdicate in favor of her son, who restored the Tang Dynasty. She died later that same year and was buried alongside Emperor Gaozong. In a final act of historical erasure, her memorial tablet was left blank, without the extensive achievements and titles typically accorded to an emperor. For centuries after her death, Confucian historians portrayed Wu Zetian as a cautionary tale, an immoral woman whose rule violated the natural order. However, modern historians have begun to reassess her legacy, recognizing her political acumen and the stability and prosperity China enjoyed under her reign. Wu Zetian's story challenges us to question how history records powerful women. Was she truly more ruthless than male emperors of her time, or has she been judged by different standards? Did she rise to power through manipulation alone, or did her genuine abilities make her the most qualified person to rule China during her era? What's undeniable is that Wu Zetian accomplished what no other woman in Chinese history managed to do. She rose from concubine to emperor, ruled one of the world's largest empires at its cultural peak, and left behind a legacy that continues to fascinate us nearly 1,400 years later. In a society built on the foundation that women shall not rule, Wu Zetian not only ruled, she excelled, proving that the capacity for leadership transcends gender. Her reign marks a unique chapter in world history, when China's only female emperor showed that women could indeed rule, and rule well.